this is a really salty rant. I hope you could take it. So I made a comment yesterday, and it was, of course, empirically valid, stating that no photographer needs IBIS, not a single one, except for somebody with, say, Parkinson's disease, someone that's got the shakes, which is unfortunate, but photographers don't need IBIS. Now let's talk about the facts before you get your panties in a wad. And I saw over on a photography forum, the hissing cockroaches were really upset at me mentioning that. So let's talk about the facts versus what I feel or what you feel about IBIS. I love IBIS. My camera's got IBIS. I can't live without IBIS. Really. Let's take a look at IBIS just for a second, okay? Where is it in the professional cinema world do you see in-body image stabilization? Where? It doesn't exist. It's not a thing at all. Where do you see it? The answer is nowhere. You know why? Because there's an issue with heat dissipation and it creates noise on the image. Yeah. Here's the really important point. You know, everybody that loves IBIS, including yourself, you've never made a comment and nobody seems to realize this, is that no matter how slow you could shoot shutter speed, say a 1/5 of a second, 1/10 of a second, IBIS does nothing for subject motion or blur. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let's repeat that. IBIS does nothing for subject motion. This is, people say, oh, I love IBIS because, when I'm shooting wedding ceremonies, I'm able to, there's a low light, can't use flash photography. Yeah. So this would be me pretending to be a wedding photographer to shoot yesterday. Oh my God, I got that shot at ISO 6400 in the dark of the wedding chapel, and it was 1/10 of a second. Wonderful. And the church came out really nice and sharp because of IBIS. Oh, but damn, the bride and the groom are blurry. They're blurry. Yeah. What? Yeah. That's because IBIS does nothing for subject motion or blur. Absolutely nothing at all. By the way, if you're doing video, get yourself a gimbal, right? If your camera doesn't have IBIS. Here's something interesting. Now, the Nikon Z6 and Z7, they have IBIS, but the same as Sony and the same as Fujifilm, Nikon, Sony, and Fujifilm all do the same thing with their cameras that have IBIS. In the case of Fuji, the X-H1. Here's an advertisement from Nikon themselves with an IBIS camera on, guess what? A gimbal. So even if you got IBIS, you still need to get yourself a gimbal. Yeah, because the best IBIS in the world, even with a little tiny micro four thirds sensor, which is better, the smaller the sensor, the better the IBIS is, because it has less mass and IBIS works better and is more efficient on smaller sensors, still need a gimbal. Still need a gimbal for video use. Now, I myself have said a million times, I don't give a damn about video. A lot of people do. And my specific words was that no photographer needs IBIS. I've said that since day one. It pisses everybody off. I stand by it today. And it's not my subjective opinion or belief. It's just a fact. Here's another statement that's going to make people really mad, but I'm going to stand by it forever and always. IBIS, okay, is for armchair videographers, okay, and poor photographers with no skills at proper hand-holding technique. Yeah. You remember that thing I said just 10 seconds ago, that IBIS does nothing for subject motion or blur? It does nothing for subject motion or blur. Absolutely nothing at all. And here's something else. Oh, damn. Shutter speed is absolutely irrelevant when your lighting ratios are, say, 3:1 or higher with flash photography. They're utterly irrelevant. In other words, if your flash photography, as far as the shot is concerned, is a ratio of 3:1 or higher, over that of the ambient illumination, it doesn't matter what your shutter speed is. You don't need IBIS at all. It's because the actual shutter speed is T1 time, which is flash duration time. This is what we mean by flash photography seizing motion. Yeah, that's something else nobody takes into consideration. But I know you can't do flash photography in a wedding chapel. Yeah. There are actually 100 other techniques for doing slow shutter speed photography that don't require a tripod or a gimbal. And even when you can't use a flash for like wedding photography. But IBIS does nothing if your shot is a tenth of a second for stopping subject motion or blur. Does nothing at all. OIS, optical image stabilization, is it's not my opinion, it's another fact. OIS is far, far more effective with telephoto lenses than IBIS ever could be or would be. There is not a single IBIS mechanism by anybody today that comes within 1,000,000 miles of good optical image stabilization on a telephoto lens. No, OIS is always superior. That, by the way, is a statement from Canon themselves, just as a side note. If you think that was just my opinion, actually, that's an optical fact. It's just a fact. Heat generated by IBIS induces more grain to the image. You know the reason why? It's because those voice coils, which sit on the tray that actually moves the sensor around, yeah, that actually causes EMI and RFI and heat, which causes noise in your captured image. That's one of the main reasons why professional cinema videography does nothing with image stabilization. It does not exist in the professional video world. Let's repeat that again. The professional video world does not use IBIS. It's not found there. It's not. They have professional rigs and rails and gimbals, and they don't use IBIS. It's also the same reason why there has never been an optical low-pass filter or an anti-aliasing filter ever found on a professional medium format camera. You know why? Because there's no professional photographer that would buy a medium format camera that would ever put up with that shit being in front of the sensor. That's the reason why. That's not my opinion. That's another fact. That's the reason why there's no AA filter on a medium format camera, is because pros won't put up with that crap. So if you're doing video, get yourself a gimbal. As Nikon themselves have already shown you, shit, this camera's got IBIS, but, if you want to do proper video, it still needs a damn gimbal. But I don't care about video. You won't find a single hardcore professional working photographer at the Olympics or a photojournalist with an IBIS camera. It's not that they're against IBIS, and neither am I. It's because they don't need it. You don't see them at press events or at the Olympics or basketball games with IBIS because they don't. The only people that are chirping about how awesome IBIS is, like it's the second coming of Christ, are armchair photographers typing on their keyboards in photography forums, which is where the hissing cockroaches hang out. Did I mention that no IBIS mech yet exists that matches the OIS from a telephoto lens? I think I mentioned that already. Nikon, Sony, and Fujifilm advertise their IBIS cameras with gimbals. If you're going to do video, like for your X-T3, for example, yeah, and it's got a lot of really credible video features. Everybody admits that. Get a gimbal for it. Even the X-H1. Fujifilm themselves are advertising in images, I don't have the image directly in front of me, the X-H1 camera, which has IBIS, with a gimbal! So, when I have said over and over again, it really pisses people out, hey, kind of that fat tattoo guy that doesn't like IBIS, I think he's crazy. I'm 100% correct. No photographer needs IBIS. You don't. And please, God, let me say it one last time. Okay, just one last time, please. IBIS does nothing for subject motion. Oh my God, I got IBIS. I could shoot it at a tenth of a second. Yeah, but your subject is walking or moving or, like turning their head. IBIS does nothing for subject motion. You see how that works? You see how that works? Yeah. This is what we call the facts. I don't like that fat tattoo guy. I don't like IBIS. I need IBIS. Do you need IBIS? Or do you need to brush up on your hand-holding techniques? Make them a little bit better, Learn how to properly hold a camera. Yeah, it's probably the latter.